Ready for some more fun math? Okay, more dividing fractions, only this to me is the more funner way, okay? Sounds like a really hard, important stuff, but it's really not. Reciprocal. A reciprocal is something that's upside down of another one, okay? Like for instance, right here, 2/3 and 3/2 are reciprocals. And they say here that two numbers are reciprocals if their product equals 1. Okay, so 2/3, remember product means multiply, right? Okay, if we multiply these two, this is just upside down of this one, right? If I take 2/3 and I flip it upside down, I end up with 3 on top and 2 on bottom. Do you see? So you literally are just taking the fraction and turning it upside down, okay? That's what we call a reciprocal. And when you do that, you should end up, if you multiply them, they should end up equaling 1, okay? 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6/6. You have all the pieces to the pizza, so you still have 1. See? Okay? In the Leopard, you guys are learning something extra. In the Leopard book, we don't call them reciprocals. We just flip them. We call it flipping them upside down. And usually I have kids in the classroom, and I usually pick the smallest, lightest one because I'm old and weak. And I take that kid and I literally flip them upside down. So pretend this is the smallest kid in our class. It's actually a frog that's dressed up like a bunny for Easter. Mrs. Dennett gave me this a long, long time ago because I love the acronym Fully Rely on God, right guys? That up there, you see it? Fully rely on God. And so my class theme in the past has been frogs. And so she gave this one to me. And if I took this frog and I flipped him upside down, now his head is where his feet were, and his feet are where his head was. Okay, this is what we call a reciprocal. It's still the same frog. Nothing has changed. If it was a real person, he'd be getting his face would be getting really red right now because all the blood would be rushing into his head. This year for leopards, I did Callie because she's pretty small and I'm pretty weak. And so I flipped her upside down. And I wish you guys were here so I could do one of you guys, but I don't have anybody here. All I have is the snake. Belle is still here, but I mean, we can flip her upside down, but she won't look quite the same as a person upside down, or this little frog, okay? So pretend this frog is one of you. It's not nearly as much fun to turn this upside down as it is to turn upside down one of my kids. It's kind of fun. So just picture Callie upside down with her face really red because I held her upside down for a while I'm explaining the math, and then the blood starts rushing to her head. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Okay, so think of it that way. A reciprocal, turning the person upside down, you're turning the fraction upside down, and then just multiply. And that's how you do division of fractions. I told you it's so easy. It's as easy as multiplying, except the second one, which is the divisor, you're going to flip upside down. See how easy that is? And then you just multiply it and you're dividing. I don't know who figured that out, but they figured out some really crazy things that work so well in math, and it's awesome, I think. Okay, so I call it the inversion method. That's what the other book calls it. They call it reciprocals. You choose however you want to whatever you want to call it, but this is much easier than drawing a bunch of pictures, don't you think? Okay, the only part on this is you got to remember to flip or invert, make a reciprocal of the yes, the divisor, okay? And the divisor is on the right. Whenever we would say this, we would say 2/3 times 3/2. We read this way just like we read sentences, right? Okay, so if I said, well, there's not one on here. If I said 2/3 divided by 3/2, that's the order I would say it, right? I wouldn't come over here and say this divided by this. So if you were to read this problem, you would say 2/3 divided by 3/2, which would be sounding like you would say 2/3 divided by 3/2, even though we don't do that. But if you were saying 3 divided by 5, that would be, well, let's change that. We'll say 8. 8 divided by 5 you would say 8 divided by 5, right? Can you see what I'm trying to do here? 8 divided by 5, you would write 8 divided by 5. Okay, so the divisor is the one on the right. This is another easy thing so that you don't forget. I say this all the time, and kids probably get sick of it, but I keep saying it because it helps you to remember. The divisor is on the right. So you flip the right one, and the right one to flip is the right one. The right one is the right one. The right one is on the right, and it's the right one to flip. Do you see? I can hear Luke going, oh, Mrs. Meyer, come on, this is great. It helps you to remember. That way you don't flip the wrong one, because if you flip the other one, if you flip the dividend, it messes it up. So you got to make sure you flip the right one, and the right one is the right one. And if you can't remember which one's right, most of you guys write with your right hand. That's how I always tell kids. I don't do this thing because sometimes I forget, okay, which one is the right way? Which one is the right L? Sometimes I can't even think of that when they're looking at them like this. So I always tell kids, most people write with their right hand. Those of you who are lefties know who you are. So the lefties, don't listen to this. The rest of you, if you're right-handed, you write with your right-handed. So you use that all the time. You automatically grab your pencil with it. That's your right hand. The lefties, now you can listen. Lefties have to remember you grab it with the wrong hand. It's not the right one. You do write with the correct hand because God made you left-handed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for right-handed people, the right one is the right one. Left-handed people, just for the sake of this illustration, you are writing with the wrong hand, your left hand, okay? But it's okay if you write with your left-handed. There's some amazingly smart and artistic people that are left-handed. There's nothing wrong with being left-handed. Okay, it's just that most people are right-handed. All right, so down to this section right here. All they're wanting us to do is to write the reciprocal to complete the multiplication equation, okay? So 4/5, we're going to invert that, and we're going to put 5/4. Now, if we were to go across, 4 times 5 would be what? 20. 5 times 4 is 20. And 20/20 equals 1, right? Okay, that's what they're saying. Okay, so 7/8 times 8/7 would equal 1. Do you see? Because 8 times 7 is 56, sorry, and 7 times 8 is 56. 56 equals 1. See how easy that is? And then number 3, how many more are there? 2 more, so I'm going to scoot them over. Okay, number 3 and number 4, the reciprocal. Hey now, why'd they do that? Oh, I got it. Okay, so we would say the reciprocal of 4, if we were to we're going to use it with fractions, remember we have to do this to it. So the reciprocal of 4 over 1 would be 1 over 4, right? So the reciprocal of 4 over 1 would be 1 over 4, and the reciprocal of half would be 2 over 1. Okay, the reason they did that is because this is exactly what you would do. If you were going to have to flip this one, you'd have to first put it over 1 to make it into a fraction, and then flip it this way. Okay? Then on the second section, it talks about what we just talked about. So I'm going to just skip those directions and go right down to it because I pretty much took the time to explain it already. We're going to find the quotient by multiplying the reciprocal. Always, always, always have your answers in lowest terms, and you can multiply to check that you got the right answer. Okay, so let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so 3/8 divided by 1/2. So if we were going to write this as a division problem, it would be like this. 3/8 divided by 1/2, right? So this one, the one on the right, the fraction on the right, is the divisor. And the divisor is what we flip. We flip the one on the right, and the right one is the right one to flip. Okay? So down here, come down and write this one the normal way. Don't flip them both. 3/8, change that to multiply. Much easier. And turn this one upside down. Pretend this is 1 and this is half. And when I turn it this way, Now the 2 is up on top and the 1's on bottom. Okay, so right here, 1/2. The reciprocal is 2 over 1. Do you see? So simple. Then we just multiply across. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. And then we have to reduce this because this is both even numbers. Can 6 go into 8? Nope. What number goes into both? 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay? Then they want us to go back and multiply to check the answer. Let's see here. It says check the answer by multiplying the quotient by the divisor, comparing it to the dividend of the original equation. Okay, so we should be able to take 3/4. Let's come down here. Can you see? 3/4. That's the quotient because that's our answer. Multiplied by the divisor should equal the original fraction we were multiplying by. Okay, 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. Looky there. 3/8, 3/8. Check. Good job. Okay, look at number 6. Number 6, okay, if we're going to have to make this work with fractions, we have to make this into a fraction. So we have 2 whole pizzas, they're not cut up, they're still in one piece, times, flip it over, 3 halves, okay? 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 equals 3, okay? Now we're going to go back and we're going to multiply the product times the fraction equals the original number up here. Multiply the quotient by the divisor should equal the dividend. Okay, so put this over 1. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Bada bing, bada boom. They match. Okay? Last one, number 7. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, number 7. We're going to do 3/4 divided by 2. Now again, if we're going to work with fractions, we have to make this into a fraction or an improper fraction, 2 over 1. So now we're going to do 3/4 times, flip this one upside down. So 2 over 1 would become 1 over 2. Do you see? Multiply across. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. That cannot be reduced because they're not both even numbers and 3 doesn't go into 8. Then multiply to check. Multiply the quotient times the divisor should equal the dividend. Okay? 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. Both of those are, you're like, oh no, it didn't work. Did it? Both of those are even numbers. They can both be divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Da 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 da. There they are. Check. Okay? So that's the front side of the page. On the back, it says to write the reciprocal to complete the multiplication equation. Okay? So this is like really super easy. I'm going to do 8 and 9 with you, and then you guys can finish that section because that's so super simple. Okay, so 3/5, the reciprocal would be 5/3. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15, which equals 1. 5/8 times 8/5. 5 times 8 is 40. 8 times 5 is 40. 40/40 equals 1. See? Very easy. Finish out that section. Next section says to multiply to check the answer. If it's not correct, cross out. I'm going to cut it off. Cross out the incorrect quotient. Okay, so we're going to multiply to check this answer. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. What does it say to do the right ones? I don't know. Let's just write a C. is that one is correct. Okay, 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 4 is 12. Does 12 twelfths equal 1? Yes, it does. So on that one, write a C. And there's one more, 18. Again, you just go backwards. Okay, put this one over 1. 5 times 2 is 10. 16 times 1 is 16. Is 10 sixteenths the same as 3/8? 10 and 16 divided by 2, right? 10 divided by 2 is 5. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Is that what that is, 5/8? No. So we're supposed to cross out the wrong quotient. That one is wrong. Okay? They sure gave us a lot of room. I guess they probably wanted us to rewrite it down here, but whatever. Okay. Then find the quotient by multiplying the reciprocal, write the answer in less terms, multiply, check the answer. So you're just going to do another section like the one we did on the front that I helped you with. I will help you with these two, and you're on your own for the others. Okay, 4/9 times 2/3. So they didn't give you, they gave you a bunch of room up there to work, but not on this one. Okay, 4/9 times 3/2. Flip this upside down. 4 times 3 is 12. 9 times 2 is 18. 12 and 18 are both even numbers. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So that means there was a bigger number we could have used. Yes, it's 3. 3 divided by, well, let's just use this one for 3 then. 2 divided by 3 is, or 2 divided by 6 is 3. No. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, so then we got to do this backwards. 2/3 times 2/3 equals 4/9. So 2/3 times 2/3 equals 4/9, and check. Okay, so that's what you're doing on those. I'm going to move this one over. 3/1. Okay, so 3/1 times, flip this one upside down. Always flip the right one. Always flip the right one, and the right one is the right one on the right side. Okay, 5/1 is the reciprocal of that one. 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 1 is 1. That equals 15, right? And then to multiply it, to check, we do 15 times 1/5. So put it over 1. 15 times 1 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5. 15 over 5, can you see that? Equals 15 divided by 5 is 3. Is that what we had here? Da, 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 da. It is. Check. Okay, so you're going to finish out that section, and that's all there is to it. So the only thing you need to do is we're going to do a test or quiz this week, and it's going to be pretty short and pretty easy. The only thing you have to remember to do is, if it's multiply, this is what 5th graders do the most. After we start doing both of these, you get real confused and you start flipping all of them. Don't flip them all. You only flip the ones that are division problems. Okay? If it's not a division problem, you don't flip it. You just multiply across. If it's a multiplication sign. If it's a division sign, you have to flip the divisor. Okay? That's the hardest thing to remember, but it's not hard, is it? It's really easy. You just have to make yourself really stop and think and do lots of double checking, like I've always begging you guys. Please double check all the way through your tests and quizzes. It really does pay. And it really does also pay to go through the form that I put online, because I give you multiple choice answers, and if your answer is not there, you know you did it wrong, so you need to go back and figure it out. So I encourage you to do those as well. Okay, a couple more days left. See you tomorrow.